The Clethans were in a race against time. Their home, a beautiful blue planet named Clethara, was now nothing but a pile of rubble. A terrible war had destroyed everything they knew. As they fled their world, they felt the weight of their loss. Commander Lythra stood on the bridge of the starship Veil of Shadows, staring out at the endless stars. "Where do we go now?" one of her officers asked, his voice shaking. He was young and scared, just like many of them. They had lost everything. "Anywhere but here," Lythra replied. "We must put as much distance as possible between us and our enemies." She felt a chill run down her spine. The stories about humans echoed in her mind. They were relentless, always hunting, always pursuing. The Clethans had heard tales of humans never giving up, no matter how far their prey ran. As the ship zoomed through space, the crew scrambled to check their systems. Lythra's heart raced. They had managed to escape their planet, but the Clethans did not feel safe. They were alone in a vast universe, and they were being hunted. "Commander, we are entering the Zarathus system," another officer reported. "Shall we stop here?" Lythra hesitated. The Zarathus system was known for its dense asteroid fields and strange energy patterns. It could be a good hiding spot, but it was also risky. If the humans were following them, they might find them here. "Set a course for the asteroid field." "We'll hide among the rocks," she ordered. The crew quickly adjusted their path, and the ship weaved between the asteroids, their hearts pounding. They hoped the rocks would shield them from detection. Once in the safety of the field, Lythra tried to breathe. They had to think fast. "What do we know about the humans?" she asked her crew. "They are resourceful and clever," one officer replied. "They fight differently than we do. They adapt quickly." "Exactly," Lythra said. "They will not give up. They will come for us." The crew fell silent. The reality of their situation sank in. No matter how far they flew, the humans were likely already searching for them. Lythra felt a wave of despair wash over her. They could run, but could they ever truly escape? Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared. "Commander, we've detected a signal." "It's human ships," another officer shouted. Panic erupted in the control room. The Clethans rushed to their stations, readying their weapons and shields. "Prepare for battle," Lythra commanded, her voice firm. "We will not go down without a fight." The crew scrambled, adrenaline pumping through their veins. Lythra focused on the display screens, watching as the human ships entered the system. They were sleek and fast, cutting through the stars like knives. The Clethans had never seen anything like them. The humans had technology that seemed to defy logic. "Are they moving towards us?" Lythra asked, her heart pounding in her chest. "Yes, Commander. They're coming straight for us," an officer shouted. "Stealth mode!" "Turn off all non-essential systems," Lythra ordered. They needed to blend in with the asteroids. The Clethans turned off their lights and powered down the ship's engines. They would hide and wait. As the human ships drew closer, Lythra's mind raced. What would happen if they found them? Would they fight? Would they kill? The Clethans were not ready for war again. They had just escaped one. Moments later, the human ships began to scan the area. Lythra held her breath, hoping they wouldn't see the Veil of Shadows. The asteroids danced around them, shielding them from view. But then, to her horror, the lead human ship began to change course. "They're coming this way," someone shouted. Lythra gritted her teeth. They had to hold on. They had to survive. The crew clung to their stations, hearts racing as the humans approached. The Clethans had run far, but they knew in their hearts they might never escape humanity's grasp. As the tension mounted, the stars outside seemed to flicker with uncertainty. The Clethans were about to learn that fleeing might not be enough. This was only the beginning. The Clethans held their breath, waiting in silence as the human ships moved closer. The tension was thick in the air, and Commander Lythra could feel her heart pounding in her chest. The Veil of Shadows was hidden among the asteroids, but she knew it was only a matter of time before the humans found them. "Commander," one of the officers said, his voice trembling, "the human ships are scanning the area. They are searching for us." Lythra gritted her teeth. They had to think quickly. "Can we reroute power to our cloaking system? We need to remain undetected for as long as possible." "Yes, Commander," another officer replied, fingers flying across the control panel. "Rerouting power now." The ship shuddered slightly as they adjusted their systems. Lythra stared at the view screen, watching the human ships glide through the asteroid field. They moved with precision and purpose, as if they knew exactly where to look. It was terrifying. The Clethans were skilled navigators, but the humans seemed to possess an instinct that was hard to grasp. Keep the shields up, Lythra commanded. We may have to fight our way out. As the crew prepared for the worst, Lythra's mind raced. What did the humans want with them? Did they want revenge? Or did they have something else in mind? The Clythons were running out of options, and fear began to settle in. Suddenly, the alarm blared again. "Commander, they've spotted us!" an officer shouted, pointing to the view screen. Lythra's heart sank as she saw the lead human ship changing direction. "All hands, prepare for battle," she yelled, adrenaline pumping through her veins. The Clythons had fought before, but this was different. They were outnumbered and outmatched. They had to rely on their wits. "Stay calm! We can outmaneuver them!" Lythra urged her crew. With a swift command, she ordered the veil of shadows to dart out from behind the asteroids. The ship surged forward, engines roaring. The crew held on as the ship zigzagged through the field, dodging incoming fire. Blasts of energy illuminated the dark space around them, lighting up the asteroids like fireworks. "Evasive maneuvers!" Lythra shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. The crew worked frantically, steering the ship with skill. They could see the humans behind them, firing lasers that missed by mere inches. The Clythons weaved in and out of the asteroids, using the rocks as shields. Each narrow escape sent shivers of fear and excitement through the crew. "Commander, they are gaining on us!" an officer called out, eyes wide with panic. Lythra gritted her teeth. "We need to split up. If we can confuse them, maybe we can find a way to escape." "Are you sure that's wise?" another officer asked, fear creeping into his voice. "We have no other choice!" "Now do it!" Lythra ordered. The crew quickly adjusted their flight path, splitting into two groups. The veil of shadows broke off to the left, while a smaller shuttle veered right. The Clythons hoped this would throw the humans off track. As they split, Lythra glanced back at the view screen. The human ships hesitated for a moment, unsure of which target to pursue. But then, with shocking speed, they focused on the veil of shadows. "They're coming for us!" an officer yelled, fear evident in his voice. Lythra took a deep breath, trying to keep her composure. "Hold steady! We can't let them break our formation." The Clythons moved as one, navigating the treacherous asteroid field. With each twist and turn, they felt the weight of their past pressing down on them. They were no longer fighting for their planet, they were fighting for their very survival. Suddenly, the alarms blared again. "They are firing!" an officer shouted. "Brace for impact!" Lythra yelled. The ship shook violently as a blast hit the shields. They held, but just barely. The crew worked quickly to stabilize the ship, their faces set in determination. They would not let their story end here. As the chase continued, Lythra's mind raced with thoughts of home and what they had lost. The humans were close behind, but so were their hopes of survival. In the depths of space, the Clythons learned that running was not enough. They had to fight to survive. The veil of shadows raced through the asteroid field, the sound of alarms ringing in the cramped control room. Commander Lythra stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the view screen. The human ships were gaining ground, their sleek forms darting between the rocks with an ease that sent chills down her spine. Every second felt like a lifetime as the realization set in, a confrontation was inevitable. "Commander, we can't keep this up," one of her officers shouted, sweat beading on his forehead. "They're too fast! We're running out of options!" Lythra took a deep breath, trying to calm the rising panic in her chest. "We need to prepare for a fight. If they catch us, we won't survive. Gather all weapons and get ready to defend ourselves." The crew rushed to their stations, readying the ship for battle. The tension in the room was palpable, a mixture of fear and determination. Lythra knew the Clythons were skilled fighters, but the humans had a reputation for being unpredictable. She could not underestimate them. As they prepared, Lythra's mind raced with thoughts of what might come next. She glanced at the display screen, seeing the human ships split into two groups, one moving to flank them while the other closed in from the front. They were strategic, planning their attack carefully. "Commander, they are sending a message," an officer called out. "It's a request for a ceasefire." Lythra hesitated. A ceasefire? Did the humans really want peace, or was it a trick? She recalled the stories she had heard about humanity, how they were clever, but also ruthless. If they thought they could outsmart the Clythons, they might just be testing their resolve. "Respond to their message," Lythra commanded, her voice steady. "Tell them we will not surrender. We will fight if necessary." The officer nodded and sent the message. As the crew finished their preparations, Lythra looked around the control room. Fear was etched on their faces, but she saw something else too, a flicker of hope. They were not alone, they were fighting together. Suddenly, the alarms blared again, interrupting her thoughts. "They're launching missiles!" an officer shouted, panic rising in his voice. "Brace for impact!" Lythra yelled. The ship shook violently as the first wave of missiles struck. The Clythans had prepared their shields, but the force of the blast was tremendous. Sparks flew from the control panel and the lights flickered. The crew scrambled to stabilize the ship, shouting orders to one another. "Get us out of here!" Lythra commanded. "We can't let them pin us down!" With quick thinking, she took control of the ship, weaving through the asteroids. They were not just fleeing, they were fighting for their survival. Lythra felt a surge of determination as she piloted the veil of shadows, dodging blasts and maneuvering through the treacherous terrain. The Clythans fired back, their weapons lighting up the dark space. The humans returned fire, and the air was filled with the sound of explosions. The battle raged around them, asteroids colliding and shattering under the weight of the conflict. "Keep firing! Don't let up!" Lythra shouted. The crew worked in harmony, their movements fluid as they followed her commands. She could see the humans responding with incredible skill, their ships darting like birds, always one step ahead. But the Clythans were not about to give up. As the chaos unfolded, Lythra formulated a plan. "We need to create a distraction," she said, her voice firm. "If we can lure them into the center of the asteroid field, we can trap them." "Are you sure that will work?" an officer asked, doubt creeping into his voice. "We have no choice. It's our best shot," Lythra replied. "We need to trust each other." With that, she led the crew in executing her plan. They made a sharp turn, heading deeper into the asteroid field. The human ships followed, but as they neared the center, Lythra took a risk. "Now! Fire at the asteroids! Create a diversion!" The Clythans unleashed their weapons, targeting the asteroids around them. The explosions sent debris flying in every direction, blocking the humans' path. As the dust settled, Lythra could see the humans struggling to regain control. This was their moment. They could escape. But as the Clythans turned to flee, she felt a pang of doubt. Would they truly be able to break free? Would this fight ever end? In that moment of uncertainty, she knew one thing: they had to keep fighting. No matter the cost. The showdown was just beginning. The dust from the asteroid explosions slowly settled, and the veil of shadows lurked behind a massive rock, hidden from the humans' sight. Commander Lythra felt her heart race as she surveyed the battlefield through the viewscreen. The human ships were struggling to regain control, their formations breaking apart as they tried to navigate through the debris. It was a small victory, but it didn't feel like enough. "Commander," one of her officers said, still catching his breath, "we have a moment. What are your orders?" Lythra took a deep breath, contemplating their next move. "We need to regroup. Our initial plan worked, but we must understand why the humans are chasing us. There has to be a reason beyond mere revenge." "Reason?" the officer replied, raising an eyebrow. "These are humans we're dealing with. They might just want to destroy us." "That's not how they always operate," Lythra countered. "I've heard stories about them. They are complex creatures, capable of both great kindness and great violence. Perhaps we've misunderstood them." As the crew prepared for their next action, Lythra recalled the tales she had heard from Clythan elders. Humans were not just war machines, they were survivors, just like her people. Their history was filled with struggles and triumphs. She wondered if, somewhere deep down, they shared a common goal. Suddenly, a message pinged on the control panel. "Commander, it's the human ship again. They're requesting a dialogue," an officer announced. Lythra hesitated, contemplating the implications. "Accept it. Let's see what they have to say." The view screen flickered, revealing a human commander with a stern expression. "Clythans, we've had enough of this chase. You can't escape forever. We want to understand your motives." Lythra blinked, taken aback. "You want to understand? After all this?" "Yes," the human commander replied. "Your people attacked us first, but we have no desire for unnecessary conflict. We want peace. We want to know why you fled." Lythra felt a flicker of hope. "We fled because we feared for our lives. We believed you would hunt us down for revenge, but maybe we were wrong to assume." The human commander leaned forward, his expression softening. "You have to understand, our kind is not as straightforward as you think. We don't just seek revenge, we also seek connection. We wanted to know why you attacked our outpost. It was not an act we took lightly." Lythra could sense the sincerity in his voice. You attacked our planet first. We saw it as a threat. We were trying to protect our home. Protection is a common theme among species, the human said, nodding. But we can't move forward if we keep living in fear and misunderstanding. We have much to learn from one another. Lithra's heart raced at the idea of peace. Could they truly bridge the gap between their two species? What do you propose? She asked cautiously. The human commander straightened. Let's meet in a neutral space. We can discuss what happened and find a way to coexist without bloodshed. Lithra glanced at her crew, who looked just as unsure as she felt. We need time to think, she replied slowly. Our past has taught us to be wary. But maybe there's a chance for understanding. The human commander nodded. Take your time, but know that we are willing to listen. We don't want more conflict. We want to understand. As the communication ended, Lithra sat back in her chair, feeling the weight of the moment. What do you all think? She asked her crew. Can we really trust them? One officer questioned. Trust is earned, not given, Lithra replied. But we cannot ignore this opportunity. If there's a chance to understand humanity and avoid further bloodshed, we must take it. The crew exchanged glances, the fear in their eyes slowly giving way to curiosity. They had been running, but now they had a chance to stop. They could learn from each other instead of fighting. Lithra realized that understanding humanity was not just about finding a solution. It was about recognizing their shared struggles. If both species could meet halfway, perhaps there was a future where Clythans and humans could coexist. With renewed determination, Lithra took the helm again. Prepare for a rendezvous with the human ships. It's time we sought understanding over conflict. As they set a course for the meeting point, she felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps they could turn the tide and forge a new path for their people. The veil of shadows glided silently through the dark expanse of space, approaching the coordinates set for the rendezvous with the human ships. Commander Lithra sat at the helm, her heart racing with a mix of hope and anxiety. She glanced at her crew, who were busy preparing for the meeting. Each face reflected a spectrum of emotions: fear, curiosity, and cautious optimism. Commander, we are approaching the designated location, reported her communications officer, his voice steady but taut with tension. Understood. Prepare to transmit our arrival signal, Lithra instructed. She hoped the humans were true to their word. Trust was fragile, and they had to be careful. As they entered the meeting area, Lithra saw the human ships waiting. Their sleek forms glimmered against the backdrop of stars, and a sense of unease settled in her stomach. Display the signal, she ordered. The screen lit up, showing their identity to the humans. Moments later, a voice crackled over the comm system. Clythans, this is Commander Harris of the Starfire. We are ready to begin discussions. Lithra took a deep breath, knowing the importance of this moment. Thank you, Commander Harris. We are here to listen and understand. Good. We will begin by explaining our side of the conflict, Harris replied, his tone professional yet calm. Let's meet face to face to ensure clarity. Agreed, Lithra replied, her heart pounding. But we must remain cautious. Trust takes time. The human ships moved closer, and Lithra's crew worked to prepare for the meeting. As they docked, Lithra's thoughts raced. What if this was a trap? What if the humans were just waiting for the right moment to strike? When the airlock opened, Lithra stepped into the docking bay, flanked by her officers. The humans stood across from them, led by Commander Harris. He appeared composed, but Lithra sensed the tension in the air. Welcome, Clythans, Harris said, extending a hand. I appreciate your willingness to meet. Lithra nodded, but kept her distance. We are here to understand. No more fighting. We seek answers. Harris gestured for them to sit at a nearby table. Let's start with why our two species have come to this point. Your attack on our outpost was unexpected, and we want to understand the reason behind it. Lithra's thoughts raced as she sat down. We acted in fear. We thought you were trying to invade our home. Our histories tell us stories of survival at all costs. And we thought the same, Harris replied, leaning forward. But fear has only led us to this conflict. We can't let misunderstandings define our future. Just as the conversation began to flow, alarms blared throughout the docking bay. A voice crackled through the speakers. Commander! We're under attack! Lithra's heart sank. What is happening? She shouted, adrenaline surging through her veins. Human ships approaching! They are firing on us! The officer on the other end yelled, panic in his voice. Harris's expression turned from calm to alarm. What do you mean? We are not attacking you! Then it must be a trap, Lithra exclaimed, standing up abruptly. They want to divide us! Get to your ships! Harris shouted, and the humans rushed to their vessels. Lithra and her crew sprinted back to the Veil of Shadows, panic tightening her chest. We need to take off now, she yelled, her voice rising above the chaos. As they reached the ship, Lithra took the helm and initiated launch protocols. The crew scrambled to their stations, fear fueling their actions. The Veil of Shadows lurched forward, escaping the docking bay just as enemy ships opened fire. The blasts illuminated space with deadly brilliance, and Lithra felt the ship shudder as they barely dodged the first wave of missiles. "Commander, they're pursuing us!" An officer cried out, gripping his console. "Plot a course through the asteroid field," Lithra ordered, her heart pounding. "We can lose them in there!" The crew worked quickly, and Lithra guided the ship through the narrow passages of the asteroids. They weaved between the rocky formations, hoping to shake their pursuers. "Keep firing back! Slow them down!" she commanded, her hands steady on the controls. But the enemy ships were relentless, gaining on them with every passing moment. Just when it seemed they might escape, Lithra's heart sank as she noticed a familiar silhouette. "It's the Starfire! They're with them!" Harris's ship had turned against them. A wave of betrayal washed over her. "They used us as bait!" Lithra shouted, feeling the weight of despair. "Commander, what do we do?" an officer asked, panic creeping into his voice. "Hold steady! We must fight back!" Lithra replied, determination igniting her spirit. "We will not go down without a fight." As they prepared for the confrontation, Lithra realized they were caught in a trap, but they had one advantage, their will to survive. The battle was far from over.